The night sky burned with 2 moons, casting silver light over the alien jungle. Leaves glowed faint blue, and shadows moved like living creatures. A human named Daniel stood at the edge of a ruined stone gate, his heart pounding in his chest. He was lost on a world where no human was welcome. Every sound around him was strange, every smell sharp and wild. Then he heard the soft but dangerous growl. From the shadows stepped a tall figure, her body covered in sleek fur with patterns like a tiger. Her golden eyes glowed in the dark, and her long tail swayed slowly behind her. She was not just any alien, she was their princess. Feared and obeyed, and she was armed, a curved blade gleaming in her clawed hand. "You should not be here, human," she hissed, her voice sharp like a blade. Daniel raised his hands slowly, showing he carried no weapon. "I'm not here to fight," he said calmly, though his throat was dry. Her ears twitched back in anger, her sharp teeth showing in a snarl. "You lie. All humans are spies, thieves, or killers. Tell me why I should not cut your throat where you stand." Her blade pressed close to his neck, cold against his skin. Daniel did not flinch. His heart raced, but he looked into her eyes. "Because if you wanted me dead, I would already be lying in the dirt," he whispered. For a moment, her claws trembled, as if his words unsettled her. But then her tail lashed, and she bared her fangs again. "You think I will spare you?" "Foolish human," she growled behind her. Armored guards stepped from the shadows, their feline eyes glowing with the same hate. They surrounded Daniel, claws and weapons ready. Still, he stood tall, though inside he wondered if this was his last breath. The princess's eyes never left him, burning with fury and curiosity both. "Perhaps I should kill you slowly, make an example for your kind," she whispered. Daniel's mind raced. He had to say something, anything to keep breathing. "I came here alone," he said, his voice steady. "No army, no ship, no plan. Just me." Her eyes narrowed. "Why would any human walk into our land without reason?" "Because I am lost," he admitted. "And because I thought your people might understand what survival means." There was silence, only the hum of insects and the distant call of night beasts. Her ears flicked, her grip on the blade tightened. The guards waited for her command. Ready to strike, Daniel could feel the point of her weapon almost touching his skin. One word from her, and he would be gone. But then something strange happened. The princess leaned closer. So close, he could see the faint scar over her cheek. Her eyes searched his, as if trying to see beyond his words. "You do not tremble," she said softly. "Most men beg for mercy by now." Daniel swallowed, but stayed still. "Maybe I know begging won't save me." For the first time, her tail stilled. Her ears lifted slightly. A flicker of thought passed over her face. Something almost like respect, but it vanished quickly, replaced by a cruel smile. Or maybe. "You are too stupid to fear death," she said, her voice cold again. The guards hissed in agreement, stepping closer, claws scraping stone. Daniel's chest tightened. He could feel the circle closing in. The princess raised her blade high, moonlight flashing over the steel. In that frozen moment, he wondered if this was where his story ended. But deep inside, he refused to close his eyes. Instead, he whispered one last thing. "If killing me makes you stronger, then do it." Princess, her blade stopped, hanging inches from his throat. Her eyes widened in shock at his words. The guards looked at her, waiting, confused why she had not struck. The jungle itself seemed to hold its breath. She lowered the weapon slowly, her voice trembling with strange emotion. "You are either the bravest man I've met, or the most foolish," she whispered. Daniel let out the breath he had been holding. But his heart still thundered. The guards hissed again. "Princess, he must die," they urged. But she silenced them with a wave of her claw. her gaze never. Leaving Daniel, for reasons even she did not understand, she spared him that night. But her words promised no peace, only a dangerous bond. "Very well, human," she said darkly. "Your life is mine now, and if you betray me, I will kill you." With my own claws, Daniel nodded, though he knew he was stepping into a cage without walls. The moonlight painted her face in silver, beautiful and deadly, and as the guards pulled back, Daniel realized the truth. His fate was tied to the alien cat princess who once swore to kill him. The jungle was alive with sounds as the human walked. Under the gaze of the alien cat princess, her golden eyes never left him. Sharp and full of warning, she had not killed him. But she had not trusted him either. The guards moved around them like shadows, tails flicking, claws tapping the stone floor. Daniel felt their hate like knives at his back. The princess lifted her blade and pointed deeper into the ruins. "Move, human," she ordered. Her voice soft but dangerous. Daniel obeyed, though his heart beat fast. Every step forward felt like stepping into a trap. The ruins were broken temples, half swallowed by glowing vines, their carvings whispering of old battles. He could sense eyes watching him from the trees, but he did not know if they belonged to animals or more of her people. The princess walked close behind him, silent as a predator. Her guards fanned out, sniffing the air, watching every shadow. Daniel wondered if she would kill him once they were away from the ruins. Suddenly, a low roar echoed across the jungle. The guards froze, ears twitching, the princess's tail stiffened. Her golden eyes narrowing from the darkness between the broken walls came shapes. Many shapes, strange beasts with glowing eyes and scales as black as night. "Move toward them, they followed us," one guard hissed, his claws clicking nervously. Daniel saw the creature's six-legged hunters, jaws dripping with poison. They smelled blood, and they wanted it. The guards raised their weapons, their voices tense. The princess growled deep in her throat, "Form a circle. Protect the human." Daniel blinked, shocked. Why protect him? He was their enemy, wasn't he? But there was no time to question. The beasts lunged forward, snapping their jaws. The night filled with the clash of steel, growls, and screams. Daniel stumbled back as one of the creatures leaped toward him. Its fangs gleamed in the moonlight. He raised his arms, knowing he could not fight it. But the princess moved faster, her blade flashing as she struck the beast aside. Her golden eyes burned as she hissed, "Stay behind me, human." The battle raged. Claws against scales, steel. Against poison, the guards fought bravely, but the beasts were many. One guard fell. His body dragged into the dark. Another beast tore through the circle. Forcing Daniel to duck, the princess spun, her tail lashing, and cut it down with a roar. Still, more came. Pouring from the shadows, retreat into the ruins. The princess ordered, the guards moved, dragging Daniel with them. They ran down broken corridors lit by moonlight streaming through cracks, but the beasts followed, their howls echoing through stone halls. Daniel's lungs burned as he ran. His mind screamed at him to escape, but there was no escape. He glanced back and saw the princess running beside him, her eyes sharp and focused. Even in the chaos, she moved like a predator in control, but the beasts were closing in, their claws scraping the walls. A sudden collapse shook the corridor. As a beast smashed through a pillar, dust and stone rained down. Daniel tripped. Falling hard against the floor, a beast leaped at him. Its jaws wide, the princess lunged, tackling it mid-air. Rolling across the floor in a blur of claws and steel, Daniel gasped as he pushed himself up. She stood over the dead beast, her chest heaving. Her blade dripped with dark blood, her fur stained. She looked at him with blazing eyes. "Move, unless you want to die here." He nodded quickly, forcing his legs to run again. The ruins twisted into a maze. Stairs led down into deeper darkness, and the air grew colder. The guards shouted warnings, their voices echoing off the stone. Daniel followed the princess, her tail glowing faint in the moonlight. Behind them, the hunters howled, louder and closer. At last, they burst into a wide chamber. Ancient carvings glowed faintly on the walls, and broken statues stared with hollow eyes. The princess raised her hand, stopping the group. The beast's footsteps grew louder in the hall behind them. She turned her head slightly toward Daniel, her voice low and fierce. "If you betray us here, we will all die," she warned. Daniel shook his head. "I'm not your enemy." Her eyes studied him for a heartbeat. Then she gave a sharp nod. "Then fight to survive," she hissed, lifting her blade. The beasts poured into the chamber, eyes burning with hunger. The guards roared. The princess leaped forward, and the battle began again. Daniel grabbed a broken piece of stone, his only weapon. The beasts crashed into them like a wave. The chamber echoed with roars, screams, and steel. And through it all, the human fought beside the alien princess who had once threatened to kill him. The chamber shook with the force of the beast's attack. Claws scraped stone, tails whipped, and jaws snapped. The guards roared, striking with their curved blades, but still the hunters pressed in. Daniel swung his broken piece of stone, striking. One in the head, it fell back hissing, but another replaced it instantly. The princess moved like lightning, her body twisting, her blade slicing. Her golden eyes burned with fury, and her tail lashed through the dust-filled air. Every strike she made was precise. A warrior's dance of survival, yet Daniel saw something else. She was not fighting for glory. She was fighting to protect her people, and strangely, she was fighting to protect him too. A beast leaped toward Daniel from the side. Before he could even turn, the princess threw herself between them. The blade in her hand cut across its throat. Spraying dark blood on the stone, she snarled, shoving Daniel back. "Stay alive, human." Daniel's chest tightened. Her voice was harsh, but she had saved him twice now. The guards shouted, "Princess, more are coming." Indeed, shadows shifted at the chamber's entrance. Dozens more hunters slithered closer, their eyes glowing. Like embers, Daniel's heart dropped. There were too many. Even the princess, fierce as she was, could not fight them all. "We cannot win here." One guard growled, fear in his eyes. The princess glanced at Daniel, then at the chamber walls. "There is a passage," she hissed, "but it is dangerous." Daniel frowned. "More dangerous than staying here?" Her eyes flashed. "Yes, but it may be the only chance we have." The beasts howled, their cries shaking the air. The princess raised her blade, pointing to the side wall where carvings glowed faintly. "Follow me, guards." "Protect him," she commanded, without hesitation. She slashed her blade against the carvings. The stone cracked, and a hidden doorway rumbled open, leading into a narrow tunnel. "Go," she ordered. The guards pulled Daniel toward the tunnel, but one beast lunged and blocked the path. Daniel acted on instinct, smashing his stone into its snout. It roared, thrashing, but the princess finished it with a swift cut. For the first time, her eyes met his, surprised. "Perhaps you are not as useless as I thought," she muttered. They rushed into the tunnel, darkness swallowing them. Behind them, the beasts slammed against the stone. Snarling, the doorway rumbled shut, sealing the hunters out for now. The tunnel was damp and cold, lit only by the faint glow of moss. Their footsteps echoed, each sound heavy with exhaustion and fear. Daniel breathed hard, his arms shaking from holding the stone. One guard growled at him, "If not for the princess, you would be dead a dozen times already." Daniel did not argue. He knew it was true. Still, he glanced at the princess, who walked ahead, tail swaying, ears alert. He could not ignore the truth. She had chosen not to let him die. The tunnel twisted downward, and the air grew heavier. Strange whispers echoed. Like voices carried on unseen wind, Daniel shivered. What is this place? The princess's ears flicked back, her tone low. The Undertemple. A place even my people fear. Then why bring us here? Daniel asked quietly. Because death waits behind us, and perhaps a smaller death waits ahead, she replied. Her honesty chilled him, yet he respected it. She was not pretending to be fearless. She was simply determined to lead. Her guards followed her without question. Though unease showed in their eyes, Daniel realized then she carried more than her own life. She carried all of theirs. The tunnel opened into a vast underground hall. Stalactites hung like fangs, and water dripped into black pools. Ancient statues of feline warriors stood broken and silent. The princess raised her blade, her voice steady. Rest here, but only for a moment. The guards nodded. Taking positions around the chamber, Daniel leaned against a pillar, his chest rising and falling. He looked at her, the alien who had once promised to kill him. Now she had saved his life more times than he could count. And he had risked himself for her too. Something strange was forming. Something beyond fear or hate. Why did you protect me? He asked suddenly. Her ears twitched, but she did not turn. Because, if you died, the beasts would feast on your corpse and grow stronger. She said coldly. Daniel almost smiled. That's the only reason. Her tail flicked, and for a moment, silence filled the air. Then she looked back, her eyes softer. Though still guarded, perhaps not the only reason, she whispered, so low only he could hear. Daniel held her gaze, golden fire meeting human resolve in that silence. Something unspoken passed between them. Not friendship, not yet, but a fragile thread of trust. The guards broke the moment with a warning. Princess, something moves in the water. They all turned, the black pools rippling. Shapes rose slowly, too many to count. The princess lifted her blade once more, her voice fierce. Then we fight together, human. Whether we like it or not, Daniel nodded, gripping his stone tighter. The uneasy alliance was no longer a choice. It was survival. The hunters would not stop. The tunnels would not show mercy. And the human and the alien cat princess, once sworn enemies, now stood side by side. Bound by danger and a fate neither of them could escape. The underground hall echoed with the sound of dripping water. The statues of long-dead warriors stared down with hollow eyes. Daniel stood with the alien princess and her guards, listening to the low rumble beneath the floor. Something moved in the black pools, but for now, the surface grew calm again. The danger was not gone, only waiting. The guards whispered to each other in their language, sharp and guttural. Daniel could not understand the words, but he understood. The fear in their voices, the princess silenced them with a single flick of her tail. Her golden eyes scanned the shadows, but she did not speak. At last, she turned to Daniel, her face unreadable. You are lucky to still breathe, human, she said coldly. Daniel leaned against a pillar. Breathing hard, I think you've made sure of that. Her ears twitched at his words, but she gave no smile. Instead, she studied him carefully, as though weighing something in her heart. You should know, she said slowly. The hunters were not chasing you. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? They were chasing me, she replied. Her voice sharp like broken glass. The guards shifted uneasily at her words. Daniel blinked. Why you? Her tail coiled close to her body, her eyes lowering for the first time. Because I am not just their enemy, she said, her voice low. I am the heir to the throne of my people. Daniel's heart skipped. He stared at her. You're a princess, he whispered. Her eyes flicked back to his, golden fire flashing. Yes, and because of that, many want me dead. The air grew heavy. The guards lowered their heads. In respect, Daniel tried to understand. So that's why you hate humans. Because we're part of this war. Her ears pinned back, her teeth flashing. No, human. My people hate yours because your kind arrived and brought fire across the stars. Her voice trembled. Not with fear, but with something deeper. My mother. The queen. She was slain when your fleets came, and I was taken into hiding. Her claws tightened around her blade, her tail whipping the air. Daniel's chest tightened. The pieces began to fit. Her anger, her fury, her threats behind them. Was grief. And now your enemies hunt you, he said softly. She nodded once. Slow and sharp. Yes, they want my blood, because if I die, my people will have no future. The silence that followed was thick, like the weight of stone pressing on their shoulders. Daniel stepped closer, though the guards bristled. He ignored their growls, his voice steady. You're not just fighting for yourself, are you? Her golden eyes locked onto him. Bright with pain and pride. No, she whispered. I fight. For every child who cries without a mother, for every clan that bows without choice, for every warrior who still believes we can rise again, for a heartbeat. The fire in her voice made the hall tremble. Daniel looked at her differently then, not as a threat, not even as a princess, but as someone carrying the unbearable weight of survival. He lowered his stone weapon, his voice calm. I won't betray you. Her ears flicked, suspicion flashing again. Why should I trust a human's promise? Because I've lost too, Daniel said, his throat tight. And because I know what it means to keep someone's hope alive. The princess studied him long and hard, her claws flexing. The guards shifted nervously, whispering that they should keep moving, but the princess raised her hand, silencing them. Her gaze never left Daniel's face. Finally, she turned away. Speaking with the weight of a leader. Very well, human. If you stand with me, you will live for now. Daniel nodded, but he could feel the shift. She was no longer only the fierce warrior who had threatened his life. She had shown him her truth, her secret, her burden, and he knew that made him dangerous to her. If she truly trusted him, it was not because of his strength, but because of his silence. The ground suddenly shook. Cutting through the moment, the black pools rippled violently. Water spilling across the floor. The guards raised their weapons. Their eyes wide, something stirs. One hissed. Daniel stepped forward, his heart pounding. From the water rose a massive shape, scales glistening, eyes burning like fire. It was larger than any beast before, its body thick with spines. The princess drew her blade. Her voice fierce. Stand together, do not break. Daniel gripped his stone, fear gripping him. Yet when he looked at her, he found courage. The creature roared, shaking the entire chamber. Daniel and the princess stood side by side. Her golden eyes burned, his human resolve hardened. And for the first time, they were not enemies, not prey and hunter, not captor and prisoner. They were allies, bound by a secret that would change everything. The monster rose higher from the black pool. Water dripping from its armored scales. Its mouth opened, showing rows of teeth long as daggers. And a hiss rolled through the chamber like thunder. The guards froze for a heartbeat, then shouted as they raised their weapons. Daniel's chest tightened. He had never seen anything so terrifying. The princess did not back away, her golden eyes locked on the beast, her blade shining in the dim glow. Form a line, she ordered, her voice sharp as steel. The guards obeyed, stepping forward with their curved blades, tails whipping the air. Daniel gripped his broken stone tightly, his palms slick with sweat. The monster lunged, slamming its claws into the stone floor, shaking the chamber. One guard was crushed instantly. His scream cut short. The princess leaped forward, striking the beast across the snout. Her blade sparked against the armored scales, drawing only a shallow cut. The The beast roared, lashing its tail, throwing 2 guards into the wall. Daniel ducked. As rubble rained down, dust filling the air, he coughed hard but refused to run. His eyes locked on the fight. The princess spun, her movements fluid. Every strike precise, she aimed for its eyes, forcing it back step by step, but her arms trembled. Her breathing heavy, Daniel realized she had been fighting without rest since the night began. No matter how strong she was, even she could not keep this pace. Another guard screamed as the beast's jaws closed around him. Daniel's heart pounded. He knew they were losing. The princess lunged again, cutting deep into its leg, but the monster struck back. Its tail whipped her across the chamber. Slamming her into the stone wall, she fell hard, her blade clattering to the floor. Princess. The guards cried, but none could reach her. The beast loomed above her fallen body, its jaws opening wide. Daniel did not think. He just ran. He grabbed the broken blade of a fallen guard and hurled it with all his strength. The weapon struck the beast in the eye, making it howl in rage. The creature turned toward him. Furious, Daniel froze, the massive head lowering, jaws ready to tear him apart. But the princess moved, even wounded. She launched herself from the ground, her claws, and blade tore into the beast's exposed wound. Dark blood sprayed as she struck again and again. The monster thrashed, roaring, smashing pillars and statues. The chamber shook. Rocks fell from above. The guards attacked together, cutting at its legs. Daniel joined, swinging wildly with his stone, striking its wounded eye again. Finally, with a final scream, the beast collapsed into the pool. Vanishing into the black water, silence fell, broken only by the heavy breathing of the survivors. The chamber was cracked and broken. Bodies of fallen guards lay across the floor. Daniel turned and saw the princess leaning against a pillar, blood staining her fur. Her chest heaved, and her blade hung loosely in her hand. She was trembling, but her golden eyes still burned with fire. Daniel rushed to her side, catching her before she fell. "Don't touch me," she hissed weakly, but she did not pull away. "You're hurt," he said, his voice shaking. Her claws twitched, but her strength was fading. For the first time, she looked fragile, not the untouchable warrior he had. "Met, I can still fight," she whispered, trying to rise. Daniel shook his head. "No, you'll die if you keep pushing." Her ears flicked back, pride fighting against weakness. "I am a princess. I cannot show weakness, not to you." Her voice cracked, but Daniel steadied her gently. "You're not weak," he said. His eyes locked on hers. "You've carried everyone, fought for everyone, even me. That's not weakness, that's strength." Her golden eyes widened. Trembling for a moment, the harsh mask she wore slipped away. She whispered, barely audible, "If you leave me now, I will die." Daniel felt his chest tighten. The words were not a threat. They were a plea. He nodded slowly. "I won't leave you." Her eyes softened, her tail curling weakly. The surviving guards watched in silence, confusion and shock. In their eyes, their fierce princess, who had once promised death to the human, now leaned against him for life. Daniel carried her away from the pool. Laying her gently on the stone floor, he tore a strip from his shirt. Pressing it against her wound, she hissed, but did not stop him, her claws resting on his arm. Her voice was faint, but sharp. "If you betray me, human, my spirit will haunt you." Daniel gave a tired smile. "Then I guess I better not betray you, for the first time." The princess let out a weak laugh. It was brief, broken, but real. Her golden eyes closed slowly, her breathing still heavy but steadying. Daniel stayed close, refusing to rest, guarding her as the chamber grew silent. The turning point had come. The alien cat princess who had once threatened his life now placed her survival in his hands. And Daniel knew, from this moment forward, his fate was tied to hers, not by chains, not by fear, but by something far more dangerous. A fragile bond, born in blood, trust, and fire, and the galaxy itself would tremble if it ever grew stronger. The chamber lay in silence after the battle. The black pool no longer rippled. The giant beast had vanished into the depths. The air was heavy with the smell of blood and stone dust. Daniel sat near the princess, watching her chest rise and fall. She was alive, but her strength was fading. The guards stood at a distance, whispering among themselves, their golden eyes flicked toward Daniel, full of distrust. They could not understand why their princess had allowed a human to touch her, but they dared not question her, not openly. Still, the air was sharp with suspicion. Daniel pressed the cloth against her. "Wound again," she hissed, her claws twitching, but she did not pull away. Her golden eyes opened slowly, glowing faint in the dim light. "You are still here," she whispered, her voice rough. "I said I wouldn't leave you," Daniel replied quietly. Her ears flicked, her tail curled weakly against the stone. For a long moment she only stared at him, as if searching his face for lies. But she found none. "You confuse me, human," she said at last, her voice low. "Why risk yourself for someone who promised to kill you?" Daniel gave a tired smile, his voice steady. "Because I don't believe that promise anymore." Her eyes widened slightly, then narrowed again. "You are foolish," she muttered, though her tone lacked its usual sharpness. Yet her tail twitched, betraying the storm in her heart. The guards moved closer, one of them speaking. "Princess, we must leave this cursed place. The hunters will return." She pushed herself up with Daniel's help, her body trembling, her eyes burned with pride, but her voice was softer than before. "We move, but he stays with us," she declared. The guards hissed. One stepped forward. "He is human. He is a danger." Her golden gaze snapped to the warrior, her fangs bared. "Did he not fight beside us? Did he not save your lives as well as mine?" she growled. The guard lowered his head. Silenced, Daniel watched in awe. Even wounded, she commanded respect like fire commands fear. They left the broken chamber, moving through tunnels that twisted deeper into the earth. The air grew colder, the walls damp with glowing moss. Daniel walked beside her, ready to steady her if she stumbled. The guards noticed but said nothing, their silence heavier than words. Every step echoed with unspoken tension. At last they reached a cavern lit by crystals. Light shimmered across the stone, reflecting in pools of clear water. The guards spread out, checking the shadows for danger. The princess leaned against a crystal wall, her breath uneven. Daniel stayed near. Refusing to leave her side, she looked at him again, her golden eyes softer now. "You are strange, human," she said quietly. "Strange how?" Daniel asked, his voice calm. "You fight without claws, without honor, yet you still stand. And you still protect." Her tail flicked, slow, uncertain. "No human has ever done that for me." Daniel smiled faintly. "Maybe I'm not like the others." Her gaze lingered on him, sharp and searching, for the first time since they met. Her eyes lost their anger. She exhaled slowly, lowering her blade to the ground. "You may not be my enemy," she admitted softly. The words shocked the guards, their ears flicking in disbelief. But Daniel felt the shift, deep and real. She no longer saw him as prey, no longer as a spy. Something fragile had begun, the beginning of trust. Later, when the guards rested, Daniel kept watch. The princess dozed against the crystal wall, her tail curled close. She stirred once, her eyes half open. "Still guarding me?" she whispered. "Yes," Daniel said. "Someone has." "Two." She gave a faint sound, half laugh, half-panned, closed her eyes again. Daniel's chest tightened at the sound. It was not the growl of threat, but something warmer for the first time. He felt she was no longer his jailer. She was his companion, even if only for this night. The bond had begun to change. When morning light finally seeped through cracks in the stone above, the guards prepared to move again, their voices low and tense. The princess rose slowly. Leaning on her blade for strength, Daniel stepped forward, offering his arm. For a moment she hesitated, then took it. Gasps came from the guards, but she ignored them. Together, human and princess walked side by side through the crystal cavern. Her golden eyes glanced at him once, soft and unreadable. "You are still foolish," she whispered, almost smiling, but perhaps a foolish companion is better than none. Daniel felt warmth stir in his chest at her words. The distance between them had begun to break. She no longer threatened him, no longer doubted every breath he took. Instead, she walked beside him, closer than any of the others. Enemies no longer, companions at last, but the tunnels ahead still waited, full of darkness and danger. And though their bond had begun to form, it would soon be tested by fire again. 4 enemies hunted them still. And the galaxy was not ready for what was growing between a human and the alien cat princess. The tunnels grew narrower as they pressed forward. The light of the crystals faded behind them, replaced by cold darkness. Every sound echoed: the drip of water, the crunch of footsteps, the whisper of unseen creatures. The guards walked with their weapons drawn, ears twitching at every shadow. Daniel stayed close to the princess, his arm ready to steady her when she faltered. She walked with pride. But Daniel could see the weight in her steps. Her wounds still burned. Her strength not fully returned, yet she refused to show weakness before her guards. Only when her golden eyes flicked to Daniel did she allow a brief moment of honesty. A flicker of gratitude hidden behind her sharp gaze. At last, the tunnel opened into a wide cavern. A shaft of pale light streamed from a hole in the ceiling. Bird-like creatures circled high above, their cries sharp and distant. It looked almost peaceful, but the silence was heavy with danger. Daniel felt the tension in the air. Like the calm before a storm, the princess lifted her blade, her voice firm. "This place is not safe. We move quickly," she ordered. The guards nodded, forming a circle around her. But before they could take more than a few steps, the ground trembled. From the shadows came the sound of armored boots. Daniel's breath caught. Figures emerged, tall and fierce. Warriors from another clan. Their armor gleamed black, their claws wrapped in metal, their eyes burning with hate. The leader stepped forward, his fangs flashing. "Princess, your time ends here," he growled, his voice echoing through the cavern. The guards hissed, raising their blades. The princess stood tall despite her wounds, her tail lashing in defiance. "You dare face me here," she spat. The rival leader sneered. "Your people are weak. Your throne will be ours." His eyes flicked to Daniel, narrowing with disgust. "And you travel with a human pathetic." Daniel's fists clenched, but he said nothing. The princess snarled, stepping forward. "This human saved your future, Queen, more than you or your cowards ever could." The rival clan roared with laughter, their weapons gleaming. The leader raised his claw, pointing at Daniel. "Then he dies first." The enemy warriors charged, their cries filling the cavern. The princess leaped forward despite her wounds, her blade flashing. Her guards clashed with the enemy, steel ringing against steel. Daniel grabbed a fallen weapon, his heart racing. He fought beside them, striking, blocking, refusing to fall. The battle was chaos. Blades clashed, claws tore, blood spilled across the stone. Daniel's arm burned with pain, but he pushed forward. The princess moved with fierce grace. Even weakened, she struck like lightning, but the enemy leader pressed toward her, stronger and faster than the others. At last, the two faced each other in the center of the cavern. Their blades clashed with sparks, their growls echoing like thunder. The rival leader struck her hard, her body stumbling. Daniel's heart froze. She was too weak to hold against him. Without thinking, he charged. Slamming into the warrior with all his strength, the leader snarled, throwing Daniel back against. The stone pain exploded in his chest, but he forced himself to rise. The princess saw it, her golden eyes blazing with fury. With a roar, she struck the rival down. Her blade sinking deep, the cavern shook with the force of her victory cry. The enemy warriors froze, their leader falling to the ground. One by one, they backed away. Dragging their wounded, their growls faded as they fled into the shadows. Silence returned to the cavern, broken only by heavy breathing. The guards raised their heads, bowing before their princess, but Daniel was on his knees. Blood dripping from his arm, the princess rushed to him, her claws trembling as she caught him. "Foolish human," she hissed, but her voice shook. "Why did you throw yourself at him?" Daniel gave a weak smile. "Because I couldn't let you fall." Her golden eyes softened, her tail curling close around him. For a long moment, she held him, her breath shaking. The guards watched in stunned silence as their princess, fierce and proud, leaned against a human. Finally, she whispered, words none expected. "You are no longer my prisoner. You are mine." Daniel blinked, his heart pounding. "Yours?" he whispered. Her ears lowered slightly, her cheeks burning beneath her fur. "Yes, mine," she said. "My companion, my protector, my bond." She lowered her head, resting it against his shoulder. The guards bowed lower, silent, accepting her choice. The cavern filled with the sound of water dripping, soft and endless. Daniel wrapped his arm around her, holding her gently, the alien cat princess who had once threatened to kill him now sought his warmth, and in that quiet moment, the bond between them was sealed. That night, under the faint glow of the moons shining through the cavern roof, the princess curled beside him, her tail wrapping over his leg. Her golden eyes closed, her breathing steady at last. Daniel lay awake, staring at the ceiling, his chest tight with wonder. The galaxy had feared her claws. But now she chose to sleep in peace at his side, and though danger still waited, though enemies would rise again, Daniel knew one thing with certainty. They were no longer enemies, no longer strangers. They were bound by survival, by trust, and by something deeper than either dared to name. The story that began with a threat had ended with a promise, a bond sealed forever.